Hey guys, welcome back to the channel.
So at this point, I figure a bit of a recap is in order. I thought I would do it in the form of a timeline so you can understand when all these things took place relative to where we are now. So far, I had completed step 2, leaving my church, and God started step 3 for me by burning my ship. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then go back and watch parts 1 through 3 of this origin series. I was originally married in 2005. Step 2 was completed in 2013. Also in 2013 was when God gave me the dream that I talked about, where He didn't approve of my marriage. I procrastinated for the rest of 2013 and into 2014. And then in April of 2014, God burned my ship and my ex and I separated. I want to take this time to give you a little glimpse into what these years were like. I think it's very important to the story and to the point of this series, which is to explain why I do what I do.
So the number one thing to understand about marriage is that it's an institute that God created and that He made the rules concerning. Okay, so if we as Christians are going to look at scripture and say, okay, we need to be submissive wives, our husbands need to be head of the household, and we're going to go through all of the rules that scripture has concerning marriage, we have to apply those rules to a marriage that God has put together. And so what happens is when you are in a Christian woman and you're in a marriage and you want God to, fix the problems in your marriage, you want Him to, deal with all the issues that you have and the toxicity, the abuse, and all the things you're having to go through, you're praying and praying and praying that God will fix those things. But you have to understand, is this a marriage that He put together? Because if it is, He is obligated to keep it together and to fix the issues that are in it and to just be God as it pertains to your marriage. But if it's one that you put together and He had nothing to do with it, you can't expect to try to live by His rules for something that He didn't create. Do you understand? So it's very important that we understand that, God is not just that He, is a control freak or anything like that. He's not. But He loves us and He knows the end from the beginning. So He knows the plan and purpose that He put in you. He knows the plan and purpose that He put in that person, your spouse. He knows the children that He wants you to have and what their plan and purpose is going to be. He knows the gifts and talents that He's put in you and how they would complement their gifts and talents. He knows the things that He's put in you to help you be a wonderful mom to the specific children that He has for you and how they'll be a great father to them. He takes all those things into consideration. He takes the things that are going to happen to you, the places that you're going to live, the other people that are going to be a part of your lives. He takes all of that into consideration when He makes the decision to say, this person needs to marry this person. So when we decide, okay, we're just going to do our own thing, we're just going to marry who we want to marry, and then we're going to ask God to bless it, it doesn't work.
The marriage was rocky from the start. The entire marriage was filled with constant fights, resulting in screaming matches and lots of tears on my part. Gaslighting. Gaslighting can come in all different shapes and sizes. Anything from refusing to give a straight answer when caught doing something wrong. For example, being caught looking at another woman's butt and accusing you of overreacting or it being all in your mind. It can come in the form of insulting you, but downplaying it as if it were just a joke and you just need to lighten up. Basically, any form of disrespecting you and yet ensuring that they take no responsibility for their actions in any way, shape, or form ever. It also included verbal abuse and insults, constant financial turmoil, including car repossessions and evictions. And it also resulted in me being a Jezebel. I was the only one with a plan to get us out of this turmoil. My husband was acting like a child, and I was acting like his mother. He had such a sense of apathy towards everything, and I was naturally such a go-getter. So I took the lead on everything, which is the complete opposite of God's ordained order. I became the only one trying to set up and pursue marriage counseling, the only one participating in budgeting or finances, period. The only one looking for new jobs for either of us when we lost a previous one. The only one cooking, the only one cleaning. I was running around like a cut-head chicken, trying to make the marriage work, trying to build a life for us, but by myself. It was exhausting. These details are so incredibly important to the why I do what I do. There are countless women in these kinds of toxic marriages, and they feel like I felt, that it's normal, that it's a normal phase or progression of marriage, that they are on track of a 3-step process of marriage where it's rocky in the beginning on step 1, but by step 3, it'll all be better. But the truth is that they are really on a never-ending merry-go-round full of toxicity, dysfunction, and abuse. And that merry-go-round will never stop. The only thing that will stop it is if they get off. I tell my story not to accuse my ex or bash him or anything like that, but to hopefully allow other women who are where I was to identify the merry-go-round and get off sooner than I did. By 2011, I was already praying about divorce, but then I got pregnant with my daughter. I decided to try harder to make it work, but things got progressively worse.
I sat there for the 3rd hour in the room waiting for the doctor to come back in. Over the last few months, I had been short of breath, experiencing cold sweats, constant migraines, and nausea. The night before, I was walking the floor, rocking my daughter to sleep. I started to get short of breath again and dizzy with cold sweats. Suddenly, I felt like I was going to pass out and almost dropped her. I started praying in the spirit under my breath and was able to finally rock her to sleep and lay her in her bed. That was the last straw. The next day, I told my husband then that I needed to go to the doctor. I had been putting it off for various reasons. Too busy, no health insurance, we only had one car. But this time I'd had it. So there I sat, waiting for the doctor to return. My then husband was watching my daughter in the waiting room and had been doing so for the past 3 hours as I sat there waiting for the results of my test to come back. The doctor finally came back in with the results. "Amanda, your tests all come back normal. I don't think there's anything physically wrong with you, but you are sick. My professional opinion is that you're depressed." Of course, being the Bible-toting religious person that I was immediately offended. Oh no, I'm not claiming that, I thought. I'm not depressed. Okay, so I might be a little discouraged, but I'm not one of those people who's depressed. I was insulted, outraged, annoyed, you name it. I quickly thanked him for his time, checked out, and returned to the waiting room. My then husband asked me what the doctor had said. I quickly told him that I'd rather discuss it in the car. Right now, I just wanted to get our daughter home. She was cranky and restless, rightfully so after 3 hours, and I wanted to get out of there. "Really?" he shouted. "We've been sitting here for 3 hours and you didn't even have the decency to come out and let us know how it was going or anything. Our daughter has been crying and whining and we've been here for 3 hours. What did the doctor say?" I knew that our daughter had been crying because he was a narcissist. He was always so angry and agitated. She almost always cried around him. But my thoughts were interrupted by the look on the faces of the other people in the waiting room as they watched me being screamed at and scolded by my ex. I was embarrassed and outraged. But like the good little submissive Christian wife, or at least my then religious definition of her, as usual, I said nothing. I took our daughter and headed towards the car. Once I strapped her in and calmed her down, I got in the car. The screaming continued all the way home. "You're depressed? Really? Well, join the club. I'm depressed too. I've been depressed since we got married. I'm depressed every day. I've been sitting in this waiting room with a crying baby for 3 hours because you're depressed? Unbelievable. Take me home. I'm going to play ball." That night, I realized the hard truth. The doctor was right. I was depressed. I loved my daughter with everything in me, and I was not depressed about her, but I was severely depressed about my marriage, and most importantly, about myself. How had I allowed myself to be in such a highly dysfunctional marriage for this long without leaving? This was not me.
Are you enjoying this series on my origin story? I hope that you are. If so, would you do me a favor and like this video and comment down below your favorite part? Tell me how God spoke to you during this video. I'd love to hear it, and it will inspire others. Subscribe and stay tuned for the next part in the next video. God bless you, and I love you.